watching Bengals Breakdown by Chat Sports, and I am your host, Stone Shields. We are back at our Chat Sports offices here in Cincinnati after a long week at the NFL Scouting Combine. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage. Now, if you clicked on this video, you're probably wondering what the bad news the Cincinnati Bengals received. We will get to that in a moment, so bear with us here for a couple of seconds. But we had some breaking news that came in as we were preparing to film this video. Alex Cappa, guard for the Cincinnati Bengals, has officially been cut. There's a short up right now on our channel. Just some instant reaction here to this move. I think it was pretty obvious that Cincinnati was going to move off Alex Cappa this offseason. I thought the two most obvious roster moves that Cincinnati need to make were cutting Sheldon Rankins and Alex Cappa. Now both of those are official. Do want to give a major shout out to Alex Cappa. He really came in here throughout the 2022 free agency cycle, and I thought he did a nice job providing some stability for this Bengals offensive line. And he played in some big games, and he had some success in those big games for the Cincinnati Bengals. Ultimately, 2024 was not his year. Really struggled. Credit to him for playing through some injuries. So I don't think his tenure in Cincinnati necessarily was a whiff. I thought, again, he provided some stability to that unit those couple of years. Helped the Bengals get to the AFC title game in 2022 as well. But ultimately, the Bengals need a new guard on their offensive line. It was only a matter of time before they cut him. Cincinnati makes it official today. Also, tweet from Mike Hilton, literally right before we started filming this video here. He tweeted out, "New opportunities always present themselves." Now, there hasn't been a report officially that the Bengals are moving off Mike Hilton, but it certainly sounds by this post that his time with Cincinnati is coming to a close here. Hilton's been phenomenal for this football team over the past couple of years. He might garner, a decent-sized contract. Of course, is getting up there in age during free agency here. That starts next week, by the way, but it looks like the Bengals are going to be without Mike Hilton for the future. Big shout out to him for all he has done as well. Bengals have a lot of youth there at the back end of their defense. Need, new pieces to come in after what was a disaster last year. But do want to give a big shout out to Mike Hilton and all he has done for the Cincinnati Bengals over the past couple of years. All right, now let's kind of get into where we were going here with our show before this news hit. The Bengals received some bad news over the weekend that we are going to get to. A report from Dianna Russini of The Athletic in regards to one of Cincinnati's top players. We're going to be breaking that down here on today's show. Also, some rumblings from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN about a potential Mike Gesicki extension that could be coming in the coming days. And also one trade rumor to finish out today's edition of Bengals Breakdown. Make sure you guys like today's video for me right now if you haven't done so already. Here are our February like battle results. I swear I don't make these numbers up. These are real. We fall painfully short here to the Ravens rundown. We're in a good spot all month long. Obviously, they have a lot more subscribers than we do, and we always hang tight with them, so appreciate you guys helping us make this close. Hopefully, we can take care of our like battle here in March. Still working through some things on what exactly we will be doing on that front, but going for over 425 likes here on today's show. So help me out, hit that thumbs up icon if you haven't done so already. All right, here we go. Now for the bad news that we were talking about here on the top of today's show. Is Jamar Chase's contract in doubt? Dianna Russini reports the Bengals and Jamar Chase are far apart on a deal. Obviously not what we want to hear as Bengals fans. Let's kind of get into the whole piece that Dianna Russini wrote for The Athletic here with a direct quote, kind of in regards to the Bengals, and then more specifically here at the end, in regards to Jamar Chase. Russini said, "The Bengals have made it clear they want to get deals done with their stars. But the question I kept hearing from NFL executives at the Combine, how are they going to pay all three of their guys? Wide receivers Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins, as well as pass rusher Trey Hendrickson, are all due big paydays, and it seems something's got to give." With the possibility of the franchise tag being placed on Tee Higgins, I was told the Bengals decision-makers are stressing the need to get a long-term deal done with the 26-year-old. The organization has not informed Higgins' side about whether he will be tagged before Tuesday's deadline. Meanwhile, Chase is expected to reset the non-quarterback market. An offer has been made by Cincinnati, but the two sides remain far apart in talks for now. If the Bengals can't get deals done with all three, Hendrickson is most likely to be the odd man out. My comments around the corner, but first, get involved with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. What's your confidence level in the Bengals getting the Jamar Chase deal done? Let me know in the comment section. Scale it for me, 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. If that ad comes here on YouTube, that's totally fine. Take advantage of it. Down in the comments, let us know what you think. All right, first things first here. We have discussed this multiple times here on Bengals Breakdown. My first kind of reaction to this piece from Dianna Russini is they can pay all three. I know it seems kind of hard to believe, right? Three guys making top-of-the-line money, and you also got one of the highest-paid quarterbacks in Joe Burrow as well. But the way the cap is situated, the way the Bengals are in regards to the cap, they can pay all three. I know it's hard to wrap your head around, but that's the case. So really no excuses here for Cincinnati. I wanted to point that out off the top here. Also, I agree with this last part from Russini. If there is going to be an odd man out, it has to be Trey Hendrickson. It's non-negotiable when it comes to Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins. In my view, that has to get done. That is the expectation. Bare minimum. Those two need to get done. If somebody's not going to get done, it's got to be Trey Hendrickson. And I'm, I guess pleased to say that that's what she was hearing at the Combine. But obviously, we all want all three of those guys to be back. Now let's transfer here to Jamar Chase on this side of the equation. I'm disappointed by this report, but I'm not surprised, right? It's the Cincinnati Bengals, of course, that we were talking about, and they have shown in the past that they have issues getting things done with their star players. Hopefully it doesn't, continue throughout the offseason here with Jamar Chase. Let's take a look at what Duke Tobin had to say in regards to Jamar Chase at the NFL Scouting Combine. By the way, you can check out Tobin's full interview, full press conference on our YouTube page early last week. Here's what Tobin said. Jamar is always going to be our priority. He's a fantastic football player. He's going to end up being the number one paid non-quarterback in the league. We're there. Let's get it done. All right, Tobin talked that talk during his press conference at the NFL Scouting Combine. I just hope he is not blowing smoke here, right? He needs to be doing the things that he said he was going to do. And obviously when this report comes out, literally a matter of hours after Tobin made those remarks, it makes you think a little bit, right? Was he just perhaps blowing smoke? I certainly hope he was not. He specifically mentioned, again, we were there right next to him at the press conference. He specifically mentioned not offending his top players. I really hope that's not exactly what he did with Jamar Chase. How in the world are you so far apart on a deal? You said at your press conference you want to make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the National Football League. How can you be so far apart? I really don't understand that end of the equation, and I hope this gets worked out for the Cincinnati Bengals. You don't want to take off that guy right there. Kind of did last offseason, but he needed to go out there and play, right? He wasn't in a spot where he necessarily needed an extension right then. What did he do? He went out and won the Triple Crown. That's how, you back up your talk with your performance, and that's exactly what Jamar Chase did. Hopefully Cincinnati can figure this out sooner rather than later, because if not, it's going to get ugly for both sides. We'll continue with our show here in a moment, but first, shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. Guys, Bengals Sideline hats are out, and they are available now. We've been talking about these for a while. Really encourage you guys to get over and check out some of these Bengals Sideline hats, courtesy of our friends over at Fanatics. That's chatsports.com/Bengals Sideline. By the way, that link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. So I know it's the offseason. That's fine. Get you some Bengals Sideline swag, courtesy of our friends over at Fanatics. All right, let's transition a little bit. Not necessarily bad news from the rest of the way out here on today's show. That kind of was just the first portion in regards to Jamar Chase. Some talk about the Cincinnati Bengals extending Mike Gesicki. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN is back with a report and says that an extension with Gesicki could be in the works here in the coming days. Let's take a look at what exactly Fowler wrote for ESPN. He said, "Don't be surprised if the Bengals try to extend Mike Gesicki in the coming days. Cincinnati is trying to secure a trio of its stars, Jamar Chase, Tee Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson. But Gesicki is another player they were very happy with last season and would like to pay. Teams are projecting the tight end market could top out around $8 million per year. If Gesicki can put up a decent clip in the next 7 days, that helps guys like Juwan Johnson and Tyler Conklin and others. Let me know, do you want to keep Mike Gesicki in Cincinnati in 2025 and beyond? Be honest with me in the comments of today's show. Type Y for yes or N for no. Now, we talk about kind of the priority list, right? He certainly is fourth when you're kind of talking about Tee Higgins, Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson. He's fourth in line for a guy that they want, to keep here in Cincinnati. But, look, I love Mike G. Absolutely do. I thought he was great. Obviously I'm not in the locker room, but you hear all the stuff about him being great in the locker room. Also, you hear all the stuff about, the leader that he is. He was good in the community. Just seems like a stand-up guy. Then you got a question. How are you going to be able to make him fit into your puzzle when it comes to the salary cap and all the cash that you have to spend. Also, you have to consider, hey, all tight ends tend to succeed with Joe Burrow. So can you just kind of plug and play at that position? Can you fill somebody in that's going to be a lot cheaper than Mike Gesicki and still have similar levels of production? Obviously, that's something Cincinnati has to sort through. I don't want this to impact Jamar Chase, Tee Higgins, or Trey Hendrickson. Again, fourth in line here. Love Mike G, fourth in line. Got to, kind of sit out where you are when it comes to, Mike Gesicki potentially staying in Cincinnati long term. Now, he has talked about wanting to make more money, make up for lost money. If you remember, Gesicki several years ago was tagged by Miami, so he didn't really have an opportunity to hit free agency back then. And also, when he got to New England, really wasn't able to get much work, right? They weren't really able to factor him into the offense because kind of the disaster that they had working with in quarterback. He is 29 years old. This is his time to make his money coming off a career year with Joe Burrow. He's going to make a lot on the open market. Is Cincinnati really going to be able to match that? I'm not quite sure, but I think a lot of us would like Mike Gesicki to be back if it is at the right number and if you can keep the other three that we have talked about so much here on Bengals Breakdown as well. Before we get out of here, let's talk a little trade here. Michael Mayer of the Las Vegas Raiders at that tight end position. So certainly the Bengals could be looking at if they are not able to keep Mike Gesicki long term. Reportedly, the Raiders are open to shopping Michael Mayer per The Athletic. Mayer, of course, was a second-round guy in 2023. Now, what happened with Las Vegas last year? Well, they went out. They found themselves in the spot in the draft where they could go get another tight end. And they did in the first round. His name's Brock Bowers. He was an all-pro as a rookie. So that position for Las Vegas is filled, right? Brock Bowers already one of the best tight ends in the National Football League. So you could certainly see the Raiders moving off a guy like Michael Mayer. If you remember back in 23, he was connected to the Bengals. He grew up in Northern Kentucky, was a Bengals fan, so that certainly kind of plays into the puzzle here as well. He missed 6 games last year due to personal reasons. Didn't really dive into that too much here over the past couple of days, but Mayer's a guy that, a lot of people think could really have a good career, and he's a guy that could be a buy low guy for the Cincinnati Bengals, right? He's not going to cost you much because the production really hasn't been there the past couple of years, but could he be a guy that could come in and help you at that tight end spot? Because, of course, Eric All Jr. is going to miss the entirety of next season, and the uncertainty around Mike Gesicki certainly could be a possibility for Cincinnati at what I would think to be a relatively low price. Now, free agency starts next week, and we will have you covered here at the channel, so don't miss out. When the Bengals make a move, we will have videos for you guys. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV.